Welcome to the UIAAA Connection podcast. Hometown Ticketing is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection podcast and to provide schools nationwide with the best options for digital ticketing for their events. Visit their website at hometownticketing.com to learn how they can make digital ticketing possible and simple at your school. Thank you to Hometown Ticketing for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch-Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Trevor Iosefa, the Director of Athletics at Telos Academy. Welcome to the broadcast, Trevor.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in Utah and across the nation where you grew up, where you went to school, education, that type of thing.
Awesome. Yeah. So, Trevor Iosefa, born and raised in Ewa Beach, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu.
Okay, let me interrupt you just so I'm clear. So that beach is close to what town or city then?
So we are close to Ko'olina, I guess we're on the west side of the island.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the little peninsula of Oahu when you look at the island. We
Perfect.
can see from across the ocean, you can see Pearl Harbor and, so.
All right, excellent. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, not at all. So yeah, I grew up in Hawaii, went to high school out there, and then came out here to Utah in 2012 to go to Snow College to play football. And then I ended up finishing up my 4-year degree at Utah Valley University. And some of my background, I'm married for about 9 years. I have 2 beautiful children. I have a 3-year-old boy and my daughter, she's going to be 1 this Friday. And so young family, still growing. Yeah. What else? What other?
So when you were in Hawaii, what school did you play?
So I went to Punahou School, which is in Honolulu, Hawaii. Some notable, I guess, alumni of our school is Barack Obama. Yeah, I graduated in 2009. Played football, played basketball, and a bunch of other sports. So,
who was the athletic director there when you were at school?
So our school, we had 3 athletic directors actually at the time. The one that was mainly over the sports that I played was his name was Kaleane, and he was also our head football coach. So
okay,
yeah.
All right, just wondering because I know a few athletic directors from Hawaii. Just wondered if I met him.
Oh, okay.
So don't think so. So talk to us. Yeah. I'm interested in what youth sports programs there are in Hawaii that you would have participated in.
Okay, so yeah, so growing up in Hawaii, I mean, you have the usual soccer, right? Basketball, right? That started at a young age. For me, I started playing actually tackle football in kindergarten. We went to go sign up for sports, and my dad was like, you know what, you make the weight for tackle football. Let's just sign you up, and we'll have to sign a waiver for you to play, and we'll just tell your mom when we get home. So, and so. Yeah, so I started playing tackle football in kindergarten, and then I played baseball, basketball, and then in 6th grade I picked up paddling canoe. In Hawaii, they have a 6-man canoe, where we race, and so I also played volleyball growing up. My dad was a collegiate volleyball player, and then ended up representing Samoa, our ethnic background in the South Pacific Games. As a volleyball player. And so, yeah. And then played football. Football was my main love and sport in high school. And then I wrestled throughout my high school career. I wrestled. I played basketball. I threw shot put and discus. So I was pretty busy in high school. And then, yeah, coming to college, I ended up coming to Snow College to play football and go to school. So.
Let me ask you a follow-up about, I knew that they had the canoe racing over there because like I said earlier, I know quite a few ADs from Hawaii, but I'm interested in your outlook. I don't know if that's the right word. Because obviously I've never been in a competitive canoe race. So tell our audience about that, because that's fascinating to me.
I mean, it's probably it lasts about 2 to 3 minutes. It's about a half mile paddle race, and it's just a full dead sprint. And it gets obviously it gets pretty competitive, and how else to put this? It is it's such an adrenaline rush being in the water and being able to work as a team. You have um your main guy in the back who's kind of directing the boat, and then you have everybody that we're all on the same pace and we're all trying to keep the same speed. Um, and so yeah, definitely a fun sport, definitely and fun in a way of you get to be in the water every day. Um, you get to see the beautiful ocean and have fun with your friends.
My assumption then is that you race in like an enclosed bay or a harbor, certainly not.
Yeah, no,
Or do you
definitely.
race on the beach where you've got waves and stuff?
So it's a little bit of both. We have a couple competitions where we would race in little marinas where the water was a lot more calm. And then you have we have races that go from island to island um, that are held every year, and those ones are hours. Where you're in the water and you're paddling and working as a team. So it kind of depend on what competition we were in. Whether we were just on a dead sprint competition or we were doing more of a long distance, like 3 mile race.
Which is So which of the two islands would be the closest for this race?
So we actually did one from Oahu to Maui. It took us a few hours.
Oh, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, it took you a few hours to do, and yeah, start early in the morning and get done about mid afternoon. So
That's fascinating.
yeah,
Let's have you share with our audience some of the mentors and teachers, coaches, parents that you had that made a big influence on you in your life.
yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, my parents, my mother and my father. I mean, they played a huge role in successes of myself and of my siblings. They put us in situations that gave us great success by sending us to a private school, and allowing us to receive a great education. And then my teachers at school. One teacher in particular, her name was Miss Kunishige. She was our math teacher over our sophomore and junior year classes, and for her, she really took me under her wing, and really helped me kind of navigate through school. And then obviously my head football coach was a big advocate for me going through school. Kaleane, who was also our athletic director. And then most recently in my adult life, I would definitely have to say a few mentors that I really lean on and kind of look towards is Dave Boyack, which is the athletic director at Maple Mountain, who you've also had on the podcast. And then the athletic director that I currently work with, Carl Jensen. He's been, they've all been great mentors to me and have kind of helped me navigate through this profession, as well as just, great people that I could always pick up the phone and call and ask for feedback and kind of life advice. So,
Thanks for sharing that.
yeah.
Let's have a little personal question here for a moment.
Yeah.
Trevor, what's the biggest failure or disappointment in your life, and what did you learn from it?
Okay. So this actually has to do with athletics. You know, in my high school career, I played on some pretty successful sports teams. Being on our baseball team, we won the state championship 9 years in a row. And so all 4 years I was in high school, we won the state championship. And football, we won the state championship my senior year. And so, having great success in high school, I always felt like my success would overshadow the struggles that I had in school academically. And so, when schools came knocking at our door and ready to offer scholarships, um, you know, I was ready to receive them, but my success in the classroom, did not reflect the success I had on the field. And so for me, I had to take the JUCO route, of going the junior college route because my grades weren't up to par, and so in terms of my failures, I guess not understanding the importance, that school has, in reaching the ultimate goal, whether it's playing Division 1, Division 2, NAIA sports, for any of our high school athletes looking to go and play at the next level. I think for me, yeah, that's one of the biggest things is I learned it was understanding that if I don't take care of the classroom, because my school struggled, I struggled in school, it forced me to have to take a different route, to achieving my dreams. So
Thanks for sharing that. Let's
yeah.
let's talk for a minute about your background before you became the AD at Telos. You've been in education for probably a couple of years.
Yeah.
So what's the route? Where did you come from and how did you get to Telos?
It's a unique path that I took. After finishing off my time at Snow College, my wife and I, we had moved up to Mapleton, where we were living with family, and I had met Dave a few years throughout my time at Snow, because I was going to school with his daughter. And so when we moved up to Mapleton, I was looking for work, and I came upon Maple Mountain and knew that Dave Boyack was the AD there, and so I started coaching football at Maple Mountain, and just nearby there was a what we call residential treatment center, or for what people don't know, it's an inpatient treatment program for youth. And so I started working there, just in Mapleton. Worked there for about 3 years as a mentor, which my responsibilities were, overseeing the kids, making sure that
Mhm.
they were, that they were doing their therapy work, and making sure that they were getting to their assigned classes on time. Um, and then I moved up to Telos about 4 years ago, still working in the residential department. And then I had an opportunity about little over a year ago, to move departments into the academy side, and so that's where I actually took on the athletic director position. Was about a year ago, and I've been in this position. So it's a bit of a unique path. Usually you typically see athletic directors or athletic administrators do educational work for a few years, before they move
Mhm.
into an administrative role. And so for me, it was a little bit different. I kind of was working in a different department in kind of our um, our business, and then moved over to athletics. So
Well, it is your first year, so I won't ask you what changes you've seen, but I will ask you, since it is your first year,
yeah,
is it all you expected? Is it way more than you expected? Give us your impressions being a
yeah,
brand new.
definitely. I mean, athletics. When I first took the job, I thought, oh yes, I get to go to sports games. I get to kind of help these kids in a different way than I've done in the past. I'd be able to kind of help them find joy in sports, and use sports to take their life to the next level. But I think for me, what I learned in this first year was, yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces that comes to being an athletic director. Um, a lot of moving pieces. Where it comes to scheduling games with other teams, or it's finding transportation, finding the funds to get those transportations follow through, um, and just all the hiccups that come along with it, like coaching certifications, making sure that the arbiter is all up to date, and making sure that our sports are all firing on all cylinders. And then being able to have to pivot when we do have hiccups, I think is one of the biggest things that I'm coming to learn about this job.
So, in connection with that, let's talk about your very first UIAAA conference, which would have been, well, by the time this airs, it would have been a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago. But as we have taped this today, it was just within the last 10 days. So, I'm interested, as a brand new AD and a brand new member of the UIAAA, your impressions of the conference and what you took from it.
First off, I want to say that I was so happy that I got to attend that conference. I mean, I learned so much from, especially the legal issues classes. Going in there the first night, meeting with Craig Perry and Ryan Grunick and Trevor Wilson. Being the first one in there, it was like, okay, I'm excited to be here. And they said, you know what? Just be patient after this legal issues classes. You might want to be looking for the next exit. And so, for me, I really enjoyed being able to have that 2-part class with them, and then most of all, just being able to see all the other athletic directors that attended, and being able to network with them, and be able to bounce ideas off of athletic directors who are at a 6A school, and I'm at a 1A school, and know that we have some of the same issues that we're dealing with, and that we're not alone. And so, I mean, I really enjoyed being at the conference and learned a lot from everybody that shared their thoughts, and was able to take time out of their day to share their experiences. So.
Excellent. Well, that's obviously what we try to accomplish. So at least we know we were successful with one. I suspect more than that, but those are kind words for the association. So you talked about your region. I'm interested in what it's like for you to be in a region where your schools are pretty well spread out. So when you answer this question, talk to the people, what other schools are in your region. And like you say, you're in a 1A region that's spread out, not like that region 3 and 6A where you've got everybody in South Jordan and West Jordan, and they're right there close together within 10 miles of each other. So talk about that and some of the issues that arise there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, being in a smaller school, having smaller demographics to work with, some of the schools that are in our region are Tintic, Windover. We have School of the Deaf and Blind. We also have West Ridge. We have West Desert. Smaller schools. We have Dugway. And so definitely when it comes to being in a smaller region, there's a lot more organizational things that need to happen, especially when it comes to us traveling so far. When we have to go up to Windover, for us, it's about a 2.5-hour drive from our school. And so, putting all of our pieces together where it's getting our coaches all on the same page, our players all on the same page, and then making sure that our transportation, is all set up correctly.
Well, I'm thinking the West Desert's got to be probably at least 2.5 hours.
Yeah, with West Desert's a journey, and actually for basketball season, we were blessed enough to go all the way down to Monticello for our first round of the playoffs,
and so that's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah, that was about 4 hours. It was about a 4-hour one-way trip for us, and so that was a great experience for our kids. We got to pile up in a van and make that 4-hour trip down there, play some good basketball, and then 4 hours back. But yeah, I mean, overall, being in a smaller region, it has its pros and cons, of organizational pieces, but for the most part, I mean, it comes with the territory of being a smaller school. You need to travel to these, to these small towns. So.
I would think the trip to Tinnick's probably an hour is the closest
Yeah,
one, maybe.
yeah. Tinnick is probably the closest school to us, and that's about an hour drive. Yep. So
And so yeah, so the people up in Salt Lake County have no beef
they
because
have, they have
they
nothing to
travel 10, 15 minutes there.
they have nothing to complain about. So
There you
no,
go.
yeah,
Let's talk now, and we've already established you're a brand new AD. So
yeah.
what's what's one common myth about being an AD that you'd like to debunk to the general public?
I mean, like I said before, the going to sports games and thinking that, being an athletic director, that's all you do is just attend sports games and kind of hang out. But really, what it comes down to, I mean, being an athletic administrator, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with um, being a head over a probably the largest department in a school, because you have various moving parts from from different kids from different grades. And so definitely knowing like I would have to say that being an administrator, you have to be on top and have systems in place to make sure that everything runs smoothly and know that you have systems and backup plans in case one of your systems fails. So
And how tough has that been for you as a first year AD? Because a lot of this you would have had to learn. I know you've had some people help you. You mentioned Carl, but there's nothing like getting your feet wet and finding that out on your own. So that's got to be a little bit difficult.
definitely, I mean, it's like, they give you the keys to the kingdom and tell you, okay, go and figure it out. And so, yeah, definitely it's still a huge learning curve. But I mean, taking the time to lean on, mentors like Carl and Dave, and other athletic directors in our region, being able to lean on them and kind of bounce off my ideas has made the transition to an athletic administrator a lot easier for me.
Very good. What's the favorite part of your job, Trevor?
Watching kids that come in to our program, you know, whether it be freshmen, they stay through a program, and watching them find success and joy through athletics. And then, just also within my coaching, like outside of I coach football, and so, watching kids come in as freshmen, learning how to lift weights or, learning the plays and the scheme of our team, seeing them be able to leave as seniors with high success, be able to have confidence, in themselves. And so for me, yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part of the job is watching kids find success through athletics and just be able to have them have joy, knowing that they are part of something, and that they, are able to say that I was part of this team or I was part of that team, and be able to feel like they belong. So
Great insight. Let's finish with a couple of questions. The first one being, this is a little bit tougher question for you because I want your two suggestions for a brand new AD, realizing that you're an AD that's
yeah,
brand new and you've had that year behind you. So if you were giving two suggestions to another brand new AD in order to be successful, what would your two suggestions be?
first suggestion would be to don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you don't know, find somebody in your region or in, at the district or at the state office, anybody, other athletic directors in the neighboring schools, ask them how they would handle a situation, because at the end of the day, we are all learning. And so I don't know all the answers. Hutch, you've been in the business for a long time. You are obviously you've seen a lot more than I have, and so being able to ask, hey, how would you handle this situation, or hey, how would you deal with um, this type of hiccup, is is probably one of the things. Is don't be afraid to ask as a new AD. And then two, just enjoy the process. I mean, you wake up every day with new things to attack, you know, and not every game will go the same as it did the last time. And so being able to roll with the punches and know that, hey, the kids that we work with, the youth that we work with, you know, they're also changing. And so we need to make sure that we are up to par and understand that, hey, maybe today, you know, so and so is firing on all cylinders, and maybe tomorrow he needs a little bit of a pick me up, you know. And as an athletic director, we need to help our coaches and our other, you know, administrators understand that we need to always be ready and willing to help.
Great suggestions. Thanks so much for sharing. We'll finish with this question, Trevor.
Okay.
What question should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I felt like all the questions that you've asked were definitely thought provoking, and I mean, really helped me to go back to what I need to work on as an athletic director. Um, no, I don't really think there was any other questions.
All right. With that, that wraps it up for this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our guest today has been Trevor Iosefa. I said that correctly, right?
Yes,
Trevor
yeah.
Iosefa is the athletic director, the brand new athletic director at Telos Academy. Trevor, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.